Oh man. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I am,
It's
of
like
course,
it's stage
when
fright.
I don't it's like yeah, I secretly have stage fright. Um anyway, what was I saying? Anyways, welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I of course am one of your hosts, Decon, here with the very mysterious.
SOS and here with the dark and lovely.
Haywire. And with the
Yeah.
mysterious
Dirty Birdie.
Dirty Birdie.
Not even dirty. Anyways.
It's dirty bird. So I have to tell you guys something. So do you guys know what a mina bird is?
The what?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Mina bird. They're a species of bird. MINA, mina bird. They're like a blackbird, but they learn
It's racist.
they learn language like a parrot. So my grandmother had one, and my cousins, when grandma was at work, they would go into her house and teach it cuss words.
That's
So when
awesome.
she comes home from work, it would cuss her out. She couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. She goes, "I'm just going to have to get rid of this bird. I'm going to have to get rid of this bird." She couldn't figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I do with the homeless.
What?
Teach them cuss words.
You're so
And
wrong.
then get rid of them?
Anyways. So, what's our topic today, Haywire?
We're kind of in the medical field, medical malpractice today.
Ooh.
I have a couple of cases. They're kind of shorter, so I decided to do two. The first one, I think pretty much everyone has heard about, but it's with Dr. Futta, and it's about
Who?
Futta? I think that's how you say it. But
Okay.
anyways, he was a really well-renowned cancer doctor, and it turned out that he was faking patients' illnesses and symptoms. So he diagnosed over 500 people who didn't really have cancer with cancer.
Oh my God.
Ooh, that's rough.
What happened after that, though? He goes, "Hey, you got cancer. Let's get you in for treatment." And
Yeah,
pump you full of...
because he was so well renowned, people didn't really question him. They just went for it, and he even
was giving him placebo treatment?
No, he was actually okay. So yeah, he was actually giving him chemo, and he was kind of famous in the medical field for doing really aggressive forms of chemotherapy, like hours and hours of chemotherapy and very like in high amounts. So he was treating these people who didn't need it, making them sick on purpose, all that. So it started out, he came over and he had his medical degree in his home country. He did a few years of residency, a few years of specialty, and then 2003 he opened up his own clinic. And at this clinic, that's when he started falsifying these symptoms. A lot of people are really messed up. Like a lot of people have lost control of bladder, kidneys, sight. Like he did everything, and all types of cancers too. He specialized in blood cancers. So it was really easy to fake those symptoms and fake those test results. Like he had other doctors call him out, but he was able to talk his way through it, that they're like, "Oh yeah, dude, you're totally right. Like they do have cancer."
And nobody went for a second opinion?
People did go for second opinions, and he did get 2 lawsuits from those second opinions before he was caught. He lost those lawsuits, I believe. So he was kind of on the radar, but what really set him off was he hired a new manager for his clinic, and all of a sudden this manager received notice from the other providers and nurses there that they were no longer going to be working there. And no one would give a reason why until one physician did and said that it was because he was faking cancer symptoms. And so then the FBI got involved. He had his trial. He was sentenced to 45 years prison time, which was actually a third of the recommended time. So a lot of people, especially those patients, were very upset with that.
I can't
I would be.
even imagine that. Sorry, Dirty Bird. What?
I might have been a little upset. I would have been like,
I mean, just a bit.
Just a little bit.
They
Yeah,
pump
it
you
was
full of radiation until you
553
have. They
people
tell you
total.
you have cancer, so
Well,
you're like, oh, I'm gonna die,
well,
and then they pump you full of radiation, and come to find out you didn't have anything at all.
well, I mean, you're looking at things the wrong way. I mean, you're looking at things scientifically. Yeah, radiation can cause cancer and does cause the majority of the cancers, but also you're not thinking that you might get superpowers.
Oh, like the
True.
Spider-Man, right? Is that
Yeah,
where you're
like
going with
Hulk
this?
No, I
or
was thinking of that.
Wolverine.
No, I was thinking about that little bird that you were talking about.
That's a horrible superpower. Well, no, not now I think about it.
I
If you can
mean,
mimic anything,
yeah,
that'd
you
be
could.
all right.
Yeah, imagine, dude, what I could do if I had like the. If only I can have like the strength of a hummingbird and the agility of a rhinoceros, I think that I'll be happy.
If only I
That's
could
a
see your
power
eyes.
combo.
You're sitting too close again.
You what? You want to? Like,
There you go. There you
jeez.
go. Okay, so wait a minute. What state was this in?
Um,
Which is
So his clinic was in Detroit. I don't know the trial because he had so many other patients from other states come in. I don't know if the trial got bigger than that and went otherwise, but yeah, he was located in Detroit, and he ended up charging Medicare and other insurance companies $34 million in the fraudulent or fake claims. So dude was making bank.
Thank God, I just can't even believe it. Decon, would you sit down?
Jeez.
Econ's going in the basement.
Oh man, you guys. See, this is what's wrong. This is what.
Haywire.
See, this is what sucks about women. You just can't please them. You just can't please women.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
We're picky dishwashers.
Jeez, bad dishwasher.
Oh,
Yeah, guess who's not getting a broom? So,
Hey, I shared a picture today of an owl that stole a stick pony and was flying around with it. Did you see that? Hey,
No, I didn't,
so
but that's
cool.
awesome.
So the people took video of this owl flying around the neighborhood, looked like a witch during Halloween.
Oh, I've seen
And
that.
he
Yeah.
stole a stick pony,
probably was.
and that was his toy, and he carried it everywhere.
That's a witch.
Okay, what?
Yeah, una bruja. Una bruja. Hijo de puta, mira, una bruja que no jodas.
No.
Una bruja, hijo de
Yeah.
puta.
What do they call them in South American countries? There's actually witches that can turn into owls. They
Yeah.
look like owls.
It's a lechuza.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the nasty doctor in Detroit.
Nasty doctor in Detroit.
Nasty.
Okay.
Nasty. We have another one in Philadelphia if we want to talk about it.
We do. Let's do Dirty Bird.
Okay.
Let's do his case, and then let's come back to you because
Okay, so
that's
mine
crazy.
is on that case out of. Oh, geez. I just had it, but I can share it. Let's see if I can find it. Yes.
Okay.
200 bodies recovered from a Colorado funeral home. So, yeah, these guys are taking in loads of money, and they were using them to buy expensive cars, vacations, hair, all the fancy stuff. They bought, I think it was over $100,000 in Bitcoin. They were just going through it. And they finally got popped, and people were pissed, as they should be.
I think you say something else.
Whose dog is that?
That's mine.
What is it?
Yeah, Is it loud? All right, I'm gonna go. I'll be back. I'm gonna go shoot. I'm gonna go shoot it.
No.
Give it belly rubs.
No. Hell no.
Loves.
All right.
Hold on. Let me see.
Haywire.
So my next doctor is Dr. Gosnell. He was really popular in the 70s. He was an abortion advocate, and he would provide abortions mainly to immigrants and minorities. And so once Roe v. Wade happened, he opened up his own clinic. It was called the Women's Medical Society. It was actually named the Abortion Mill because there were so many abortions there. But what was really crazy is that a lot of the abortions he performed were late-term abortions, so after 24 weeks. When the DEA finally raided it with some state officials too, they found a bunch of women really drugged out on bloody chairs and tables and just completely out of their minds. They found fetus body parts in milk jugs and orange juice containers.
My God.
Gross. Oh God.
Yeah. And yeah, there was also a patient who died in 2009 that they discovered was because of unsanitary conditions. Most of the physicians or nurses there or any of the workers really had zero training. It was just kind of a shit show. And he also dealt with selling illegal drugs, basically, and he would make between $10,000 and $15,000 a night by writing out these fake scripts for people. So just all around a bad dude.
Scripts for what? Painkillers?
Yeah, painkillers, and yeah, mainly painkillers.
He's selling
so not only is he a monster, but he's a pill mill too.
Yeah. Let's see. So I have the stat. So about 20% of the abortions were performed after the 24-week mark. And of those remains, a few of them were found that those fetuses could have been very viable outside of the womb. So really, really late-term abortions. So after this raid, he was charged with a lot of counts, and this happened in 2011. So mind you this, he opened up his clinic in the early 70s. It wasn't until 2011 that he was actually charged with anything. But yeah, it's crazy. His assistant, Dr. Massoff, I believe is how it said that more than 100 having their necks clipped, which he equated to beheading. So this one's a really cringy story if you really want to get into it, but it's one that really shocked me.
Oh my God.
I know. Let me just bring down the mood really big.
Yeah. I would say that's like borderline serial killer, but you get paid to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of reports too that he was just very cold about it. Like he showed no emotion, had no care. So
he couldn't have. Otherwise,
that's psychopathic vibes right there.
He got sentenced to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. So
I hope. Ooh, yeah. You know.
I know.
To have his neck clipped.
Should.
That's a new term I've heard today. Is neck clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, they equate it to beheading.
I don't know how we follow that up, but we're going to talk about Walter Jackson Freeman II, and
quite the name.
I'm going to share his picture. There he is.
That's me. Oh no, wait, I'm looking at the wrong screen.
So this dude was inventor of the ice pick lobotomy.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So the lobotomy, the tool that they did to scramble the brain for the lobotomy was not invented by him, but he took it one step further. So he was a psychologist and a neurologist who specialized in mental illness. His frontal lobotomy was the only effective treatment for violent psychosis. So the lobotomy is an operation where the destruction of neurons up here and neuronal tracts in the white matter of the brain. So they go in with a little curette thing and scramble it up a little bit, and it's supposedly help people. In 1926, he began teaching at both the U.S. Naval Medical School and Georgetown University. He's a Yale graduate, okay? In 1938, he began using electroshock therapy on his patients. This guy was just completely out of control. it sounded like he kind of started with good intentions because he had worked, I think, like maybe interned in a medical or a mental facility, and he was just appalled by the lack of care these patients got and how they were treated horribly. So he kind of wanted to help them so they could lead normal lives. Well, that sounds grand, right? But he didn't help a whole lot of people, okay? And he just kind of experimented kind of gruesomely on a lot of people. In 1936, he modified the lobotomy technique and he started doing them in his practice, in hotel rooms, in offices. I mean, it was like not scientific or sterile or anything. And 1945, he developed this transorbital lobotomy where he penetrated the skull with this ice pick and a hammer. Dink, dink, dink. Okay? In like hotel rooms, he was doing this shit. And he injected alcohol into the brain, like rubbing alcohol into the brain and into the frontal lobe. And he had a partner at one time, and his partner left the practice and said, "You're nuts. I don't want to be involved with you anymore," because he found out this guy's like doing this crap in hotel rooms. So
did he end up getting a lobotomy too? Never spoke
yeah,
again.
well, yeah, right. He got suicided. 1967, a patient died. Well, this was the well-known case, and so he was ultimately tried for murder. But they said that in his records, he performed about 3,500 lobotomies, and there was an estimated 490 deaths, could be more.
Didn't he have a traveling van or something like that with all the tools, and he would go from city to city?
States.
Yep, he would
Yeah,
travel.
they likened him to like an evangelist under a tent. Like this guy was certifiably crazy, and yeah, so people were permanently incapacitated. The ones who didn't die, a lot of them were left like brain dead or paralyzed, or they couldn't speak anymore, or like all of this. I mean, this guy was a monster. So there you go.
There was a movie.
I'm starting to get like a little
way back when. I can't remember the name of it, but they showed how a lobotomy like that was done. And they would put somebody in a chair, tie them down, and they would go right through the eyeball up into the brain.
Eyeball. Yep. And that's what he did. This transorbital, that's what he developed that technique to go in through the eyeball and up into the brain and then stir it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the shit of nightmares, is it not?
I just imagine someone making soup.
That's what they did, essentially.
Gotta stir that pudding. I'm sorry, guys. This dog is killing me. And
that's okay. It's a dog. Dogs do dog things.
On a plus note, though, I came across something on YouTube that doctors are now using ultrasound to cure drug addicts. They put them on a table, and they roll them in, and then while they're laid back, they're shown images of like heroin needles and drugs and stuff like that, and they get them worked up. In the meantime, they've got a brain scan going, and they find where the brain is active, and then they hit it with ultrasound, and it takes the urge away almost immediately.
That's really interesting.
Oh, I'd be a little worried about that. I mean, they probably thought the same with the lobotomies. Like, wow, that's really interesting.
I think it's ultrasound or it's ultra something. It's not. Is it ultrasound? If you've been
through like drug treatment programs and it's your last, I mean,
yeah,
it's a 2% success rate for drug treatment programs. So it's sad. I mean, addiction is just it's sad. You know what I mean? Because yeah, So my friend's a drug and alcohol counselor, and she said, yeah, and she was an addict, and she said when went to rehab, they said 98% of you are going to fail. Which two of you in this program are going to make it, kind of thing.
That would be hard to stay in the program, though. If you're like me, I'd be like, well, I'm not gonna fucking make it. I'll just head on out.
Well, he was trying to instill like the fight, the fight to want to be the
2%. Yeah.
Yeah, and it did. It worked for her, and she is now a drug and alcohol counselor.
I think I'm gonna say a drug.
the best. Well, she was. So, but she was. But now, yeah. So I can imagine if you were at the bottom of like you've lost everything, and I can't get nothing will help. I can imagine somebody taking a gamble.
Yeah.
And saying, do it.
Either that or ketamine treatment, but that's still considered.
Yeah.
I think ketamine's
what's the word I'm looking for? It's not experimental, but it's.
Well, it sounds
we got it. We got it here. It's approved, but apparently it works too because it just completely shreds your ego, and you also have a counselor in there to help guide you through it.
Oh.
Because you're going to go through, how do they call it? You're going to go through dimensions, and all your ego is going to get stripped away to your bare core, and you're going to find out why you're doing the things that you're doing, and there's a counselor to help you guide you through it.
God, that sounds so damn drastic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ketamine?
Yeah. I don't know. Won't do something like that, though? I mean, shit, I thought boot camp was hard, but it's not that hard.
It's supposed to be pretty therapeutic.
I don't know.
Because you're just stripping everything away, but that ultra frequency, ultrasound thing, that piqued my interest. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Just like get slid into a tube, and it actually reminded me of a Clockwork Orange towards the end of the movie where he's sitting in a chair in a theater with his eyes pried open. They're putting eye drops in him, and they're like showing him all these images.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, you're done. He's like, hey, I'm cured. Okay. No, you're not.
Bizarre stuff.
Doing research through this, guys, how much do you guys trust the medical system now, if you did before?
After what I've been through the last couple of years, I don't trust them very much at all anyway.
Right. So you were just like not surprised?
No.
Well, I trust after like I got my gastric sleeve done, but I don't know, these take a pill for everything kind of doctors.
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much.
Don't you think that has a lot to do with the pharmaceutical companies paying them?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got these, and they're legalized drug dealers, right? And they're going from doctor's office to doctor's office, pushing new samples every week, and
Yeah. Well, working in the medical field, that was like one of my favorite times was when drug reps would come in because they always bought everybody dinner, and it wasn't like anything small. Like they spent a ton of money, like paying for you to just sit and listen, and then handing out free samples to the doctors. Like it's so easy to get them. I worked for a weight loss clinic, and it was just like, I don't know, it was just crazy how easily that someone could come in and share their stuff. And yeah, I can't say too much about it, but definitely my work, I noticed how flawed the medical system could be. And so
I'm more mad about the funeral home stuff. That when I was reading through that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Well, it does make me, that kind of stuff does piss me off too, but at least they're not suffering.
Right.
Someone who's alive and being butchered by
yeah, but still, you trust these people with your loved ones, and do an abandoned bell and throw a pile with other people, and then they come and be like, okay, that's $6,000, give me my money.
I know.
And then
All I
2
heard
months
was Taco
later,
Bell.
you find out that your loved one is now rat
keeps
food
leaving,
at
so
the
you go to
abandoned Taco
Taco
Bell.
Bell to get a burrito.
Oh, jeez.
Is your dog in trouble now?
Yeah,
Is
she
he
went
the
out.
dog?
Yeah, well, I threw her in the garbage.
Oh.
Aw. Well, I don't know. I thought this was kind of fascinating. And the unfortunate thing is we could do 1 million of these cases and
Right.
not even scratch the surface. Just here in America, American doctors. So I don't know, spooky stuff going on out there. Like my grandfather, I never met him. He died before I was born, but my mom would tell me, her dad would say, not every doctor graduates with an A.
Nope.
So there are a
These
lot
get
that are just barely getting through medical school, man.
These get degrees, except in the pharmaceutical one. That's what my buddy told me.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
These get degrees except in the pharmaceutical school.
Yeah, then you can like not go to school at all. You're like, what's your experience? Oh, I've been spraying perfume in cats' eyes. Like, you're hired.
What?
Going to the conspiracy. What is that? Did you guys hear the conspiracy of the during World War II when they had those Nazis and this pharmaceutical company is like, can you send us 150 healthy Jewish women? And the Nazis were like, sure, and then they sent them the 150, and then like literally like 4 months later, they sent another letter to the Germans. They're like, yeah, none of those subjects survived. Can you send us 150 more? And they're like, sure. That
Are you
company,
talking about Bayer?
yep, that company became Bayer, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies out there.
Oh, that's
Yuppers. Yuppers.
Wow, I'd have to research that. That's nuts.
Some of these big name companies had ties with the Nazis way back when, and you wouldn't guess who they were. I think another one was Kodak, the camera company. Yeah.
And I would guess, yeah. Well, we hope that you liked this episode, right? Like and subscribe and share it.
Yeah, and be
Maybe.
sure, well,
Maybe
just a little bit. Send it to that one cousin. You're like, I don't know. He's kind of weird. He smells. So send it to him. So anyways, guys, yeah, like and subscribe, and thank you guys for joining us on this episode. And remember to always look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on Nightmare Road.
Ooh.